This is a follow-up to what Ty was just talking about, and the same team, including the WIA and the University of Wyoming and the University of Colorado, General Electric and me, are going to pursue this idea of how do you model the natural gas-fired generation with the variability of the wind power. We think it's a good idea for Wyoming. We know that technology works. Wind power turbines are perfected. Gas-fired turbines are absolutely high-tech, off-the-shelf equipment. So the next step is to model how these could be used. If we co-locate the projects at the same place, then a simplistic answer is if you combine them, the wind with its variability can be offset by the natural gas turbine. If the wind slows down, you ramp up the natural gas turbine. That's too simplistic. But they can be modeled for other reasons too. They could be used separately. For example, Wyoming Wind could play its traditional role of supplying Colorado, for example, and California, or the gas turbine could be used as a peaker. So those are the answers we're going to be looking for. What we do know for sure is that if we co-locate these two power plants, we'll save 15% in capital cost. That's a pretty big number when you're looking at the bottom line of kilowatt-hour prices. And it saves 50% in wheeling costs. Because today, a wind energy project has to own or pay for all of the capacity on the transmission line, 100%. Because on some days, the wind is blowing at full capacity and they won't need to use the whole line. Other days it's blowing less of the line is needed, and some days it's zero. So in effect, it leaves half of the line unused. And this could provide a free ride for natural gas-fired generation to wherever it's going. Or at least these two products could share the cost of the transmission line. So wheeling is reduced by 50%. But our real goal here is to export more Wyoming energy. By wire is a value-added product and export it, this electricity by wire. There's a much greater profitability in exporting the finished product rather than exporting the raw material, which we're good at as well. So Economics 101, what I'd like to do is set aside for a moment all of the talk about regulation that's gone on these 2 days and just look at the demand. What does the market want? 67% of Americans want lower carbon electricity. In Europe, it's even higher, even though in Germany, which we've talked about a lot, the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. Thus, there are high subsidies. In China, for example, they're halfway to meeting their 200 gigawatt fleet of wind power projects by 2020. So we're not the only ones. Wyoming has the resources to supply this increasing demand for lower carbon power. And of course, regulation will have some effect on that. We have an overabundance of the lowest cost natural gas in the country, if not the world. And we have the best, highest wind energy regime in the country, meaning the lowest cost renewable power. I'm often asked by people, In Wyoming, when the wind stops blowing, do the cows fall over? And of course, the answer is nobody knows. Of course, the biggest problem, we've talked about that before, is that with pure solar or wind, you really can't count on it as a firm capacity. The sun doesn't shine at night and the wind doesn't always blow. Yes, even in Wyoming. But the customers want the lights to go on when they flip the switch. That's all they care about. And the customers don't realize that the utilities are burdened with the inconvenient truth of having to use other resources to firm up this green electricity product. And there's a pretty big cost to that. Of course, this is the elephant in the room. And what we're proposing is that this would help, it would help offset the potential job losses that we've heard about earlier from the effect of 111D on the coal business in Wyoming, if that comes about. Well, the solution to the variability of these renewables is a quick start natural gas generator, as Ty was talking about. In our case, as the wind slows down, we ramp up the natural gas turbine. Now, Florida Power and Light is already doing this with solar. They've had a nationwide ad campaign on PBS, at least, where they show the solar troughs with the sun setting behind the solar generation, and at the same time, the natural gas is ramping up to offset that. And their tagline is clean power 24 hours a day. Well, wind power is no different. It has the same variability, and it can be handled in the same way. This is a gas-fired plant that I started in East Germany. It was after Glasnost and before the wall fell, which is a great time for Americans to get in there and do business. So we replaced an old lignite coal-fired plant with a modern, clean-burning gas plant. This is on the Russian pipeline. And it's a hybrid of sorts itself because it's the opposite of American cogeneration. This project was sized to heat the city of this small town on the Polish border. They had central heating at all the buildings. And they got their heat from this power plant. Electricity was the byproduct. There's no doubt that coal is going to have to be used in the world in the future. Renewables and conservation just won't cut it. And any of the honest reports that you read say that coal really does have to make up the difference. And the emphasis, of course, has to be on what we're talking about here, is lower carbon coal. But at the same time, this creates an immediate opportunity for Wyoming. And here are some advantages that we could see from this. We'll use more gas in state. It supports the price of natural gas if there's more use of gas here. There are increased tax revenues from minerals. That includes wind. Sales taxes greatly increased tax base for the communities. And Wyoming will continue to be the energy leader in the country, both in BTUs and innovation. And it's a bridge to the future of carbon capture, utilization, and storage. It combines off-the-shelf technologies, state-of-the-art wind turbines, and highly refined natural gas turbines. So we don't have to perfect any new technology. What we have to do is figure out how to model how these two generation sources will be used compared to the utilities load. And Dr. Frank Barnes, he's on our team to solve this problem. His business card says distinguished professor at the University of Colorado. Already has some pretty good ideas of how this will work, and we hope to be able to publish that in June along with GE's results. So let's get this done. Let's cowboy up. The first utility scale wind gas hybrid project, we're already planning that for Cheyenne. It's 6 miles west of town. And the number we're starting with is 300 megawatts of wind power and 300 megawatts of gas power. That may vary. And it'll be somewhat under $1 billion of new capital investment in Wyoming for just a demonstration project. Online target 2018. Here's the location, just west of town. It's on the City of Cheyenne land and some state sections. Sorry. Last slide again. And some state sections. So we've got, in this location, it's city land. They purchased it from the Strategic Air Command because this was a nuclear missile base. And it's decommissioned now, of course. But the Cheyenne area is actually the world's largest nuclear missile base. So you should feel safe here. So what we're really doing is beating swords into plowshares. Maybe that could be our tagline. I love Wyoming. I've lived here all my life. My father has, my grandfather has, my sons are living in Wyoming because it's a pristine, fantastic landscape with great mountains, clean air, all the good things you want, great hunting and fishing, the best skiing in the world. And at the same time, we're the country's largest energy exporter. So let's find a way to keep Wyoming pristine and at the same time continue to be the country's largest energy export. We hope we can provide a small niche in that right away with off-the-shelf technology. Thanks, and
good job, great job. Questions from the board?
Thanks, Bruce. I had a comment. Maybe the guys from GE, Ty, and Jared can comment too. And that is on the wind and the hybrid integration. We saw in the presentation from the folks from GE about their ramp-up response time, and the technology improvements in the last 5 years have made that much shorter. But there's a lot of activity going on better meteorological data coming into the electric grid for solar and wind, almost near-time, real-time sort of forecasting, so we could be more proactive in starting to ramp up the turbines rather than reactive to a real-time seeing the slowdown. Is that incorporated in any way, and would that be beneficial to allow the gas turbine to be at power when the wind is dissipating?
absolutely. Yeah, better forecasting will help this a lot. And it's quick start gas generation.
Question from the audience? Well, good luck in your project, and we appreciate your support with this gas-fired generation study that GE just presented, and like I say, we hope to you'll continue working with us on as GE embarks on this gas hybrid model in the next few weeks. So let's give Bruce a big hand.
Well, thank you, but I want to point out that it's Lloyd Drain and the Wyoming Infrastructure Authority and this team that he's put together to analyze gas at high altitude that is resulting in this kind of new generation business for Wyoming. So, thank you, Lloyd.